let's just stay on the topic of recalls. Um, I went through this week. I seen a report by a company called Stout, and they put out a report for recalls in 2019. And realistically, if you look at the numbers as things trend, they're of course going to show us exactly what we anticipate. The interesting thing is whether the end customer will go in get a recall or get his vehicle updated for the recall. It depends whether it's the what's the nature of the defect and the impact of the vehicle and the operability of the vehicle influences whether the buyer will go in and do it. So that's even furthermore proof of just the technology and the trends that to get the vehicles up to the standards or the to get the recalls implemented, we have to start moving to OTA or over the air updates and making sure that the over the air updates are reliable and secure for that matter. Um, as we move forward, some of the I'm going to pull some of the things out of the Stout report was more and more recalls show that there's design related defects versus manufacturing. That's a trend that we see um, happen over the last 20 years. That's not anything shocking by any means. But as you look at the recalls and the showing of the recalls, you can see the relevance of the technology. The point that I'm making there is as as new technologies are implemented into the vehicles, of course the warranty is going to go up, the recalls and the issues are going to go up until they start to get stabilized and once they everyone gets a handle on the design and development process of that. A prime example is drive-by-wire. When drive-by-wire came out, there were issues, and you start to see a little side effects and blips within the recall and the safety issues. Um, when we move forward, you're going to start to see ADAS features and functionality. I shouldn't say as we move forward, because even my 2011 Audi has all ADAS functionalities of lane departure and uh, detection in front of you for objects and so forth. That's 2011. Um, but as the U.S. and Asian OEMs start to develop and move those functions, and you start to see issues regarding warranty and recalls go up in that manner. Um, just to prove out that point, the lighting changes as we've seen. Uh, that have come into existence, basically the exterior lighting. In 2019, 1.4 million vehicles were recalled, nine for lighting issues, nine exterior lighting recalls, six were software based defects. This is a trend. This is not rocket science. This is something that we've seen across multiple additional features, additional technologies. Things come out, new technologies come out, we have issues. And again, to my point, as these new features roll out, as V Cubed gets involved, and our parent company, SureSoft Technologies, working with companies like Hyundai, that's where we've put them at the top of JD Powers as they roll out new features. The new Hyundai vehicles are extremely feature rich, but yet they're sitting at the top of JD Powers because of their cooperations and their developments with our organization, using our tools across the board in their software development. So the quality issues that can be minimized, and I keep beating on quality, 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 quality. Um, to circle back, I have a good colleague that I used to work with. He just retired, and we had a good talk about his master's degree and how he went to school to understand algorithms and design and develop complex architectures. But at the end of his career, he goes, I spent more time in meetings discussing how to minimize and take cost out of the product, all the way down to taking capacitors and resistors out at 0.001 pennies. He goes, you take out these issues and then you turn around and see a stupid or a negligent issue create a recall, and all that work and effort just goes away. So he's just the frustration of doing the same thing over and over and over and not really looking at the market trends and the issues. I keep saying this is not rocket science, and I keep saying we see these trends and this is something that we expect. But it's kind of like, why are we accepting that this is normal? Why aren't we looking at different ways of implementing our software processes? Why aren't we implementing new software tools? Most of the organizations re- require that static analysis is done on software that is delivered to the OEM. But it's the the only checkpoint is that the tier one or the tier two buys the static tool. So the tool is purchased but never actually implemented into the process. So it meets the requirement of the OEM that the tool is there, but it's not being used. I've seen this. I know this in multiple instances, but these are the trends that have to go away to eliminate these software trends with the functionality, because the functions keep increasing every year and the complexity keeps increasing every year, but the process hasn't changed. So we're going to continue to do the same mechanism and expect a different result. And I don't believe that's possible. But as we move forward, I'm hoping customers reach out. And that's as we talk, we have multiple tools. We're working towards the complexity of AutoZar. We're working on cybersecurity and OTA. We're taking the knowledge that we have as an organization from our finance world and from our nuclear world and rolling that into the automotive world and showing how to increase processes. And the tools that are designed and developed that we've done for the finance world have been incorporated into the automotive world. And again, that those are the tools that Hyundai has been using for years, like gets them to number one in JD Powers.
So what? Okay, so you mentioned these
I'm on
features, whatever, everything, quality, whatever. But then tools are already in place and not being used. And are they not being used because they don't know how to use them, or they just, like you said, they just need to have it? But
they
I don't get it.
the reason they don't use the tools is because they don't have the time allocated to do it. That's what it boils down to. The engineers go out, they get the tool, they throw it in, um, and it's cumbersome. Where VCube's tools are automated and less cumbersome and give you the ability to just incorporate it and walk away. A prime example would be the cover tool that sits on top of the compiler and just generates automated reports to give you status and awareness of where you're at. So within the program, I want to go back to the report though. One of the things that's really interesting is is the diagnosis of the software defect and the component defect. You have software remedy, software integration, software defect, and IEC. As you see the trends, as you move across the board, you see software remedy growing as a solution to multiple issues within the recall, or a solution to a TSB, which is a technical service bulletin. Um, I say that because software remedy can be a solution to a hardware issue or a mechanical issue. So software remedy is a great tool moving forward because you can do OTA to fix mechanical and hardware issues within the vehicle. Then you have software integration and software defect. Software defect is, as I said, you can see grow from 2016 to 2019. There was a substantial growth because of the additional light or exterior lighting on vehicles, the additional ADAS features within the OEMs, and electrification. And as you see that, the growth is there. What I referenced earlier was you seeing the same pattern from 2012 to 2015, but 2016 there was a smaller software defect issue because realistically, during that timing, if you go back and look, the industry didn't really roll out any substantial features. It was basically all the features were already in place. But as the new features start to grow, you start to see the software defects within the industry grow. And I've seen the roadmaps for features and moving forward in vehicles all the way to 2016. There's more features coming. So this pattern is never going to shrink like it did in the past. It's just going to continue to grow. And again, going back and looking at process. Process needs to change. I do want to throw one caveat into these comments. This is data from 2019. 2020, I don't think any data is relevant. Any data that we see in this industry, I don't think will be relevant. Cars weren't driven. Um, the number of miles on the cars is a fraction of what's normal. And we basically wiped away 2020 with COVID. So I think as we move forward, we should look at 2019 in comparison to 2021 as we move forward into the future and just eliminate 2020's data because it's not relevant data. Page 46. Yeah, if you look at this is where I
Oh,
was
yeah.
looking at the numbers and pulling the numbers from. Because if you look at specifically, like if you look at 2011, software defects, barely any, and then quadrupled. It stayed until 2016. This is when we introduced like navigation, drive-by-wire, hands-free auto, or VR. Yeah, this is the stagnancy. And even if you really want to dig down into this chart, everything that we designed and developed in 2007 was released and in production in 2009. That's why you see a big software defect. And then everything went down because nothing was really introduced again during that period, because that was when the economy went bad. So nothing, there was really no development because of 2008, 2009, poor economy. No features are relevant in 2010, 2011. Then the features start coming back because the economy started coming back. Then you start to see the software defects go back up. And then minimization of features, 2016, more features start to come in. ADAS comes in, exterior lighting comes in, and that's where you start to see the issue. And as you see, as I said, in 2019, there are 1.4 million vehicles recalled just for lighting issues or exterior lighting issues, and 6 of those were software defects. So that's a huge number. And you take 1.4 million vehicles, I can't even guess what the cost of a recall is anymore, what the number is. But just let's say $100 per recall, which is extremely low at 1.4, that's a big number. When you could incorporate the V cube tools for a fraction of that and never see this instance, which is eating your money, eating your resources, but worse, it's deteriorating your brand. So as we've circled back around, it all boils down to quality is money, time, resource, and brand. And if you incorporation of the tools actually will minimize the risk of this. And as we move forward, you start to see you talk cybersecurity, and I'm not going to get deep into that, but realistically, if you're not setting your foundation up, as we've talked about in the past, then you're extremely susceptible to failure, be it your house is going to fall down because of cybersecurity issues, or that the code was just not built properly, or couldn't be reliable. Um, a number of there's standards coming out that are going to force processes to change. There's ISO standards that are in process but have not been released as standards yet. There's the UNECE WP29 that has been released and is going to be a requirement for vehicles going into Europe and to I can't exactly remember, maybe 13 countries have signed up, including Australia. So it's Europe and Australia and etc. And how the OEMs are going to meet this and meet the requirements and meet these standards to get the vehicle in is going to be interesting because it's a step down. It's where we're accustomed to development of bombs and what I call balls, which are bill of licensing, bill of materials, bill of licensing. Well, there's also moving forward with uh, software bombs. So basically saying where you got your software from, did it meet all the criteria to come in? Was it tested? Was there static testing done? Was there unit level testing done? Was there integration level testing done? Can you prove it with a cover type mechanism and show a report where it's tested? And then did you do your validation testing? And the software bomb is going to be a detailed document that's going to show each A, B, C, D across the board. And if you don't have it, then you won't be shipping vehicles into the countries that have signed up to this WP29. I got nothing left.
I think what you just mentioned there was really great, and I think that it's something that what we've already got in place is already ready for all these things. I mean, because it's going back again to that foundation, and again, no matter what they do, whatever standards are coming down the pipe, kind of thing. If they really want to be ready, like you said, we already have the tools in place for them to be ready for whatever it is that they introduce and whatever they have to, the OEMs have to prepare for. It's already there. It's just a matter of using it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you have to look at the mechanism and who's at the top of JD Powers, and you start looking at them and why they're at that top. Um, because they're being and jump leapfrogging and putting the processes in place to do it right. And it's showing in the quality. It's showing in the recalls. It's showing across the board. Customer satisfaction, which is what we all want.